everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Liam Hartree here today with another episode of Presenting Champions for the Simply Inspired podcast, joined by a very, very special guest today, the world's strongest disabled man, Britain's strongest disabled man, Guinness World Record holder, Darren Greenfield, who has a super inspirational story about his journey through the world of strongman, how he got into it, things he's overcome to get there. Some big plans in the future as well. As always, we're not just going to be talking about the sport of strongman itself, but we're going to be going a little deeper, getting some inspiration, some hope, some positivity, and the mindset that it takes to compete in one of the toughest sports in the world. I think it's safe to say that strongman is. So thank you all for listening. And Darren, mate, thank you for coming on the show. I'm glad we're finally here, finally doing this, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, mate. Thanks for asking me.
No problem at all. Like I say, you've got a super inspiring story and a lot to share with people. So starting at the beginning, so going back in time a little bit, obviously we'll come to the circumstances of what happened in a minute with the crash and everything. Before we do, when you were growing up, were you interested in sports before strongman, or was it?
Yeah, I've always been an athletic kind of person. Yeah, sports-wise, yeah. Football, rugby, running, boxing, weight training. Yeah, I did all that before the accident. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Like I say, through school as well. Yeah, rugby was more my thing than football.
Yeah,
I think scoring 2 own goals decided that football wasn't my thing. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so yeah, all around sportsman before that time.
Yes.
And obviously, with those different ones, you say rugby was your favourite. What about some of the others? How far did you take some of those altogether?
The bodybuilding side and boxing. I mean, I got into them because I was kind of tall, skinny. So I got into boxing just because I was a prime target for bullying. People used to bully me, so I got into boxing, and that was the one I kind of pursued more. Like, you know, the others were just more for fun. You know, I did a fun run, 5 mile fun run, and things like that. That was just more for fun. But pursuing things, it was like that where I put more time and effort into it was my weight training and the boxing before the accident. Because I was actually getting ready for my first amateur fight before the crash happened. So yeah, that was more my thing. Yeah, and like I say, weight training.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, you already had the sporting ability and the mindset and everything. Makes a lot of sense. Obviously, with the crash itself, I'm not sure how much this story is being told, but obviously we need to touch on it because it changed your life forever. Horrible situation, but obviously you have kind of flipped that on its head and made something good out of a very, very rough situation. So starting at the beginning, basically, what happened that day? If you could tell us a story, please,
yeah.
Mate.
Well, what it was late October, and it'd been raining and hail in the morning. And I was on a motorbike. It was just a 125 motorbike. It wasn't even a fast bike. And as I was coming back home, I was going around a bit of a bend, a left-hand turn bend, and the bike, it's a manhole cover in the road, and the bike just slipped from underneath me. And as it went down, my leg was underneath the bike, and it took me over the white line. And there was a lorry coming the other way, and it actually, because he was literally there, he couldn't react quick enough, and he actually went over the top of me and dragged me like 30 yards up the road underneath the lorry. And so because my leg was pinned under the bike, the leg literally came off at the scene. It was hanging on by a piece. It sounds a bit gory for the podcast, but yeah, it was just like my left leg was just hanging on almost through the hip, like, you know, with about an inch of skin. And I broke my right leg in 3 places. He actually stopped across my pelvis on the lorry, got out, seeing I was underneath the back wheels. So he got back in the lorry and reversed off me to take the pressure off my pelvis, kind of thing. But yeah, and I clinically died for 6 minutes on the scene. I went in like 2 hours. I went for 3 minutes. The ambulance people managed to revive me, but I went straight back off again for another 3 minutes. So yeah, that was the crash. But I mean, I can't remember none of that. It's lucky enough. Well, I say lucky, but I had a friend behind me who knew me, because it was like literally about 300 yards from where I live. The crash was. He managed to go and get my mum to come down as well. So, But yeah, so it's like he told me exactly what happened because I lost a week of my life when I had the crash. I can't remember a thing about it. It's just what I was told, what happened on that scene, like, you know, and the obviously what went on with it. But yeah, so and as soon as I was in hospital, they cut me trousers off, and it was like a blood fountain. It sounds a bit gory, doesn't it? Like a blood fountain, and donated 26 pints of blood in half an hour because the blood just kept coming out. They couldn't stop it. They did try saving the leg, but they said it would be no use in an ornament. So they amputated it like almost through the hip. I'm quite a high amputation. So yeah, but and you know, as they say, the rest is history from that. Then
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, it's really something being run over. I mean, because those lorries, I mean, that's like tons of
yeah,
weight
yeah,
of-
it was a removal lorry, so it wasn't a big, massive lorry, but
yeah.
it was still a big lorry. And my luck, it was full of house goods as well. So it couldn't have been an empty one; it had to be a full one.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah,
So, all right. So that's what happened. I mean, wow. Pretty
yeah, I
brutal.
was 18 when that happened.
Is it okay? That's a young.
Yeah, 18 years old. Yeah, I had the bike a week.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like I had it for a while. It was like I brought it on a Saturday as a stolen and recovered motorbike. So then all that week I had to kind of get it all back road legal because they took bits off it, you know, nick bits, this, that, and the other. So I got it all back to being road legal. And I was taking it to the garage to get it re-MOT'd. And that's when I had the crash. I was only actually on the bike for one day. So I think just me and bikes wasn't meant to be.
yeah. That is something you don't hear every day, man. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
And at such a young age as well. Something,
Yeah. Like I say, I was just getting ready for my first amateur fight. I also applied for the Grenadier Guards because I was in the as a kid before I lost my leg. I was in the tank regiment, 16th Tanks as a kid, army cadets. So as soon as I left school, obviously at 17, I went to the recruiting office to go into the army. But they just laughed at me when I said I want to do tanks because I'm 6'4.5". So they just laughed at me and said, "You ain't going to no tanks, mate. You're in the guards." So I did all the tests for the guards, but obviously I had the crash, so that never materialised either.
Wow. So, all right then. Like I said to you just now before we started recording, obviously how you've turned a negative into a positive is a big
Yeah,
part of this. So, obviously at the time it happened, you say, you lost a week and everything. When you woke up in the hospital, you woke up at that time with one leg, with a number of your dreams at that time, the boxing and the
yeah,
cards, all being shattered, basically, all being gone.
yeah.
At that time, did you ever think that you would compete in any type of sport again, or did you sort of think that it was all finished with type
It,
of?
do you know, it's a weird experience for me because I lost that a week of that time. But that week was in intensive care, and I cannot remember a thing yet. Obviously, from what the nurses told me, my mum told me, like they kept telling me, I think it was about 7 times that I lost my leg, but it just kind of went in one ear and out the other. I wasn't accepting it, and then it's like when I come out of the intensive care into one of the side bays of the hospital, it was almost like I've accepted, the leg, the faults, the missing leg wasn't an issue. I never even thought about it. I was more bothered because my good leg was in like a big metal frame with weights on the end to keep it stretched because obviously I broke it in 3 places. So I had like a gap, like probably, so much with a floating bone in it because it wasn't an open wound on the other leg. So, like they had to wait to operate on that before everything else healed. So I was more concerned about what was wrong with that than I was with the false leg. So it was almost like within that week of in intensive care, then me coming out, I already accepted that I've lost a leg and it was never an issue. It never bothered me. And then, as you like saying with the sport wise, I didn't even think about that. All I wanted to do was get some dumbbells in whilst I was in hospital, strapped to a bed so I could keep doing dumbbell curls in the bed, on the hospital bed, because I still wanted to keep kind of active because I went from 16.5 stone straight down to 9.5 stone within a matter of about a month and a half, 2 months. So, I wanted to keep doing something as much as I could. But as in like sport-wise, I never dwelled on it. It was just like, okay, it's happened. Now let's just, I just get on with life. I do things what I wanted to do. Obviously, I didn't do the boxing anymore. Then obviously I couldn't go into the army, but I went as soon as I could weight bear. then I was back in the gym. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, man. And how long was your recovery, obviously physically in terms of like the leg being in the cage and all that type of stuff until you could basically walk
Yeah.
properly?
They couldn't operate on the right leg, put the pin in place and everything, to put the bone and everything until everything was sorted with the leg that I lost. So they had to do all operations on that first. Then they put the pin in this, and because they put the pin in the good leg, I couldn't weight bear for 3 months. So I was in a wheelchair for 3 months. But then as soon as I could weight bear, then I was just, I was itching at the bit to get a false leg. I wanted a false leg, so I could get up and walk. And so, yeah, as soon as I could weight bear and everything, that's when I got my first prosthetic leg. So I'd say in total time, up and like walking, let's say kind of walking, with walking sticks and crutches, it was probably about 4 months, 4.5 months from the accident.
So when it comes to getting back into strongman and everything, you have to fill me in on the timeline with this and how long it's in between and everything. But basically, starting with the inspiration. I mean, I know you say you're itching to get back in the gym and everything, but when you started thinking, right, okay, I can actually compete and I can actually take this a bit further. What point did that come along for you?
Well, because obviously, like, I mean, we talked. Oh God, it was 1989 when I lost my leg.
Yeah.
And showing my age a bit now, but yeah. So people with false legs in gyms, it wasn't something that was popular like it is as in today now. Because I just trained for me, you know what I mean? It was like I was just training for fun. I didn't have a goal. I didn't have nothing. It was just I wanted to get back to how I was before I lost my leg, because I was 16.5 stone at 17, 18 years old, but it was just lean muscle. And I just wanted to get back to that kind of shape. So I went to the gym and I was getting to the point where I was actually getting bigger than a lot of able-bodied people in the gym, as in a bodybuilding physique. And I had a friend who was a pro bodybuilder. So we actually tried back then when I was 24 to get into doing a bodybuilding competition. And he got in touch with the federations, and because we're going a long time ago, there was no call for it. I was the only person in Britain that wanted to do it, so they wouldn't do it for me. And but now, obviously, disabled bodybuilding, it's a massive thing. And but yeah, so that was kind of then from that then onwards. I'm like, something like we'll just keep pursuing it. But yeah, I mean, I had a bit of relapse time, but I've always then carried on training. Yeah,
Makes sense. Okay. So yeah, so doing it mainly for yourself, keeping fit, keeping busy.
yeah, it was to start with. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I didn't have no goals to start with.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And were you because I know you said now you're working on the doors and everything these days. Was you doing
Yeah.
that then as well? Or like you always
No,
do?
I've only just started doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm only doing that because my job, I went from full time to part time, and because obviously with the disabled strongman stuff, I'm not a funded person. We don't get funded unless you're lucky. But even with all the titles that I've not got financial backing. So when I went down to part time, obviously my money from part time goes into the house, the bills. And then it comes to the point where I was like, I sat down with the wife and like, I'm gonna have to retire, even though I'm at the top of my sport. I'm gonna have to retire just because I can't afford to do it. So and then a friend of mine says, well, get into doing a bit of security work, so you got money coming at the weekend. And then that kind of, I said, yeah, I'll do that, because that will then pay for my training and stuff. I get the gym free, but the traveling, your supplements, protein drinks or whatever, even food, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's £160 a week. That was just like, to me, my priority was the house, not what I wanted to do. Even though the wife says, look, we'll work around it. I was like, no, we're not. You're not working extra hours just for something that I want to pursue. So I kind of took this job up. Yeah, it's all right. It's a nice little number. It's a quiet club.
Yeah. Well, fair play. That's a good way of working around it with getting cash in and everything. So, all right then. So when you started, we were talking about the bodybuilding and everything like that. Obviously that door was closed for you, as they say, and all that type
Yeah,
of thing. But you obviously kept pushing, and at some point, the strongman started to open up. So, but this is be obviously a few years on from
yeah,
building side of things.
yeah.
And we're skipping a few years there, but let's get into it from that point of view. Obviously, the bodybuilding had packed in. I guess you were still training, but you hadn't given up on the dream of competing or whatever.
No, yeah, I kept training, kept physical and stuff like that in the gym. You know, keeping myself in good shape. But yeah, but what kind of kick-started it was the limb fitting centre where I used to go. They says like, oh, there's a like an open day for the Paralympics, and it's like a come and try day, and that was at Birmingham. So what basically you go and they've got all the different like events that you do in the Olympic Games. You know, weight training, you know, the whole lot. And I originally, because with weight training, it was into obviously my bench press. It wasn't massive, but I was repping 155 kilo for like 7-8 reps. So I thought, you know, I'll have a go at powerlifting, disabled powerlifting. And because it was an open day, they said, like, oh, come on, let's go and do a tryout. This was just before Beijing Olympics. And so that's 2000, what was it? 2008, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so I went there to do this powerlifting thing, and there was it was quite funny actually, because there's a little dwarf boy, you know, who's about 3 foot tall. I was wearing a vest, and I'm 6'4.5", and like, you know, I was probably about 17 stone, and then he's looking at, and he's giving me the big uns like this, standing at me, and I kind of sniggered to myself, and then the coach says like, what do you want to, he says, do you want to get into it? I goes, well, yeah. And he says, what you benching? I says, well, I'm doing about 8 reps at 155 kilo. I said, sure, if we train properly, we can convert that to more nearer 200 kilo. And he goes, well, you're wasting your time, mate. I goes, you what? He goes, you're wasting your time. He goes, you see that little lad there? I goes, yeah. He goes, well, he's our British and world record holder. I think it was around 50 kilo, but he can bench press 175. And he says, if you can't bench press 240, because you'll be competing against someone like him, then you're wasting your time. I was like, okay, I'll try a different sport. And I got into wheelchair basketball then. So I did that up to London to keep myself occupied. Then I retired doing the wheelchair basketball from London. Really? Sorry about that. It's my wife's flipping iPad, isn't it?
Don't worry, it happens. So it happens sometimes. I can cut that. Wheelchair basketball, you were saying, yeah.
Yeah, so I got involved with wheelchair basketball from 2008, just before the Beijing Olympics. And what they did is they put me on a fast track program for London 2012 Olympics for the wheelchair basketball. So I did that, got involved, but I was only a reserve for the London 2012 Paralympic team. So if someone obviously got injured, then I would step in. And then after the London 2012, I kind of retired from that, but got poached as I was retiring into doing Paralympic canoeing. So I got involved with that to Rio Olympics in 2016. So yeah, I've always been, you know, I've gone from one thing to another, because it's, you know, it's just like, even though I'm getting old, it's like, I always say like a bottle of wine, you know what I mean? As I'm getting older, I seem to get better. You know what I mean? It's I don't know what it is, but yeah, I get aches and pains, but I just kept getting better at, you know, as in physically myself and stuff like that, my health reasons and stuff. So yeah, and then I kind of retired from the whole Paralympic thing after Rio Olympics. And that's when I got involved with the strongman then, 2017.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, the canoeing as well.
Yeah.
And everything, and some of these things is the first I've heard of it. Absolutely, very, very diverse you are, mate.
Yeah, I'll try anything. If you ask me to do something, I'll try it, and it's only when you try something you'll know if you can do it or not. And if I can't do it, I'll find a way round to do it. You know what I mean? I never kind of give up on something just by looking at it and saying no, I can't do it. You know, I will try. I mean, it's like this world record log press. You know what I mean? In all fairness, I shouldn't been doing that. But when someone says to me, "Oh, do you want to have a go at something?" Then I'm like, "Oh yeah, now you give me a challenge, I'll do it." But yeah, so you know, I just like keeping busy, active, for mental reasons more than anything else.
Yeah. Oh, it makes sense. It makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. What was your first sort of big success with strongman then, if we sort of start at the beginning with
My first big success would be 2018. I got involved in 2017, and then I did the Britain's Disabled Strongman. But sod's law, I wanted to use 2017 as to see if I enjoyed it, because that's when I got involved with it. So I wanted to know if I enjoyed it before I go full bore training into it. And so 2017, I did the Britons, but I snapped me long tendon in my bicep. So when I went, I couldn't compete at my maximum. Like, so even Magnus from Magnuson, he says, Darren, I can't believe you're here. I says, mate, I've trained for this. I want to have a go. You know, so I had a go. Out of 15, I came 8th. And I thought, that ain't that bad for saying I've got a snap bicep, you know, the long tendon. So that's after that, you had to qualify for the Worlds. Otherwise, you couldn't compete in the Worlds. You had to, and it's the top 3 that qualified. So the only way I could then go and qualify is if I went to do another competition, which was in Germany, the German Strongest Man. So quite a few of us, we did like a minibus trip. Some just competing but have already qualified. Some who hadn't trying to qualify the same as me. And I went there and actually come second in that competition. And so that gave me the chance then to go and do the Worlds in 2017, where I came 5th, I think it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 5th I came in that. So I thought, you know something, I enjoy it. I'm going to take this a little bit more serious. Because obviously I was new to the sport. I'd never picked up an Atlas stone. I've never pulled anything heavy because it was a log, you know, a truck pull, pulling lorries and stuff. I'd never done nothing like that. So it was all alien to me on the stuff. So then I got involved with a gym that got the equipment and stuff, and I trained properly, which then took me on to the success where I kind of am now. So 2018, I won the Britain's Disabled Strongman, and then I did the World's Disabled Strongman, but came second. And then 2019, I won the Britain's Disabled Strongman, the World's Disabled Strongman in Canada, and then I did the Static Monsters, which is a worldwide competition where it's just a log press and a deadlift, seated deadlift. Because obviously we're disabled, this is like disabled strongman. I'm in what you call a seated class 1. So you're sitting down, all your events are done sitting, not standing. And so I do the seated class. And so, yeah, so the deadlift is like you're sitting down and stuff. And I won that as well, the Static Monsters Adaptive Strongman, Static Monsters Adaptive. So that was in 2019. I won the 3 of them. Obviously, COVID kicked in on 2020, so we didn't do nothing on 2020. They did do a Worlds, but it was like a virtual thing. But then they said, like, oh, we can do it where we meet in a gym and do it. And I said, no, that's not for me. I don't want to do it, because at the end of the day, there's only 3 people competing in the World's Disabled Strongman. And to me, it's like that ain't the Worlds, because you've got 1 German, 2 Britons. I'm like, how's that? You know, how's that? I'm not getting too political about it, but to me, if I want to win something, I want to compete against everybody in the best. You know what I mean? Because then I can't call myself the best if I've not beat the best. You know, no disrespect to the others, but at that time they wasn't the best. So I didn't do that for that reason. And then 2021, we got back into it again, where I came second in the Britons. I've not done the World since. I've only done the Britons. All I've concentrated on is the Britons, and then what we've done now is the Arnolds. So then, yeah, and then I came joint first in the Britons last year, and I did a 2nd place in the Arnolds Classic. So I'm hopefully going from a 3rd title next month, proper title, not a joint, because obviously I've come joint first 3 times now in the Britons, but it went on countback. So and the guy that beat me did like, you know, who took the medal, he won me by 1 more event. But I did say to him, I says, look, that sounds a bit arrogant, but I did say, I'm not bothered about the trophy. I just want to say that I've come top. So we did draw on points, but he got the medal on countback. But I want that medal to say, yeah, I've won it outright. So I'm doing it for 1 more year this year, and on the disabled strongman side of things. So then we're pretty much up to date on what I've won so far.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
absolutely incredible achievements. And something I
yeah,
really love about what you say there as well is the perseverance side of it. You know what I mean? Like if you come in like a little bit lower down, but you know you're getting a good level, but then you go back and then you win. There were several times you said that. I love that, like
yeah,
never give up type of vibe. If you get what I
yeah,
mean. It's
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was kind of getting, because I mean, when I did the second place, they actually took an event out. You know, I mean, I don't. It probably sounds like you're being bitchy, but I'm not being bitchy. They was running out of time, so they took an event out. And it's actually an event that I've never lost, which was the Thor hold, where you hold something in front of you for as long as you can. And I've never been beat on that. And then they just turn around at half time and says, "Oh, we're not going to do a four hole because we're going to run out of time." I'm like, "Great, there's 5 points just gone, just like that I knew I would get." And I lost that title by 1 point. And so yeah, it was. I was getting the impression that they're doing things just because when I go to competitions, I compete, but I kind of blend in with the people as well. I'll talk to people. I've got time for people, even though I'm competing. I'll chat with someone if they want a picture, a photo, or whatever. I'll talk to them. So I'm like a people's person as well as an athlete. And I think that's why they keep saying don't retire from the sport. Because I said I was going to retire after that because I kind of thought, you know, sorry, I've had enough. But then they taught me back into carrying on. Plus all these videos I was getting from disabled kids who I know, like, you know, watching it on live stream and stuff. And their parents will sending me videos saying, "Oh, Darren, here's your, you know, your supporter and all that." So I thought, how can you retire when you're getting this kind of positive feedback from it and stuff, you know, and I'm doing something positive for it. So yeah, so I just keep coming back. I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, but the inspiration side of it is, as I said you right in the beginning, man, it's definitely a big part of what you do, you know, showing people what's possible and all that type
Yeah,
of stuff. I mean, it's a real deal when people say that. We'll come back to that in a minute. Before we do, what about the recent Guinness, the
the
record?
record. Yeah,
Yeah, let's touch on that a little bit as well.
yeah, yeah. I don't think Autobot was too pleased about it. Who the leg company who met the leg, because my leg weight limit is 120 kilo, and I'm 134 kilo, and then I'm putting 9,500 kilo above my head on top of that. So I didn't think there was too. I mean, obviously, like they knew what I was doing, but yeah. But no, how it started was Glenn Ross for the Ultimate Strongman when it was the UK's finals not so long ago in Nottingham. He says, like, are you fixed for doing a world record attempt? And I goes, yeah, I'm up for that, yeah. And then we'll come up with ideas. But obviously, because I'm in a seated class, I was thinking, like, yeah, let's pull some lorries or something. You know what I mean? I don't mind doing stuff like that. In fact, I like doing things like that. And he goes, no, let's demonstrate like more like with your leg so people can see that like with the leg. Then like he says, how about a standing dumbbell press? I says that would be too hard because it's just too awkward for the balance. And picking it up off the floor and trying to get it in position on one side, it's really awkward. And we said, what about log press then? I was like, well, yeah, because I know I can do a log press standing, but I've never done nothing above 90 kilo. And he says, like, let's do a standing log press then. Let's go for 100 kilo. I'm like, well, the unofficial world record is only 91. I said, well, how about go 90, 95 or something? He goes, no, let's do 100. 100 is a good number. Let's do 100. I'm like, oh, right, okay. So, yeah, so that's how that started, the Guinness World Record thing. That was back September, he asked me that for this year. So I trained for it. And I did the 95 kilo in warm-up. So I went out in the arena to do the 100 in front of like 3,000 people and stuff. Got the 100 to my chest, but then I just went lightheaded and dizzy, and I didn't make the press on that day. But the Guinness World Record people seeing me warming up and what I was pressing, and they says, look, you know, we're gutted that you didn't get it. Keep in touch with us and we'll go again. So I gave it 3 days after, you know, getting the bottom lip off the floor for not getting it in front of 3,000 people. And they said that, you know, they were so glad that I got back in touch with them about it. And they said, when do you want to do it? I said, well, whilst the iron's up with my training and stuff, let's go for it straight away. I said, give me 1 week, like a deload week, just to chill. and then I'll get straight back onto a warm-up program for the 100, and then we'll go for it. So give me 4 weeks. So we did that, and then but we kind of changed it. We did it how I wanted to do it, because there isn't a Guinness World Record set. So I could have actually done a Guinness World Record at 30 kilo, and it would have counted. But because the unofficial world record is 91, I wanted to do more than 91. So I said, let's do a 95. So we've set a record, and then go for that 100 again, and hopefully we'll get the 100. And so that's what we did. So I pressed the 95 like it was like it was 50 kilo. And because they all, they came out, they videoed it, they adjudicated it, and the adjudicator with the certificate and everything, they all come back out, and they did that off their own back. And whereas when I was doing the form, that should have cost me £8,200 for them to come out, and they just did that off their own back. So I was really grateful for that. So that's why I was determined. I wanted to set a record, because I didn't want to come out and not get a record set. But yeah, and then I went for the 100 after. But in hindsight, I probably should have done the 100 instead of the 95, because how easy the 95 went. When I did the 100, it went to my chest, and for some reason I just couldn't get my feet positioning right, because obviously the prosthetic leg. So I couldn't get my foot in the right position to press the log, because with me being such like I say, almost through it, everything's got to be on pinpoint right for me to be able to do it, because I'm literally curling the log to my chest. Whereas an able body, you squat down into it. And as you do the clean, you're using your legs to start the motion. Whereas I can't do that. So I'm literally getting it to my waist off the floor, curling it to my chest, and then pressing it. And when I got the 100 to my chest, for some reason, I just couldn't get in that right spot, and I just couldn't press it. So, but it's a hindsight thing. Should I have done the 100 before, not the 95? In my head, yes. But then at least we've set a record. So if someone beats it, I know I can do 100. It's there. I just got to get everything fine-tuned. So if they beat it, then we said in the interview with them, then if they beat it, then we'll just go again and do the 100. So yeah, that's the Guinness World Record.
Wow, amazing achievement, and it's an amazing story behind it as well. How it all came together.
Yeah.
I love that, because it's the side of things that people don't see, from
yeah. It's like you say, we're not giving up stuff. I knew I could do 95, and I know 100 is in there if I hit that sweet spot and get it all right. Like I say, if you watch the video of me doing the world record, because obviously it's videoed and stuff. If you watch the video of me doing that 95, it was so easy. In fact, I was like, is that it? Done. It was so easy. But yeah, it's just hindsight, isn't it? It's like anything. You get it right, you get it wrong. You can make a mistake in anything, and it's just that one little bit that, if you don't get it right, it don't go. If you get it right, it's like, God, that was easy. So yeah.
Wow. Incredible. So touching on a couple of your future plans, and then I just want to get into one or two other things about mindset and some of that stuff. But future plans, you said you did touch on this earlier, mentioned it briefly, but you also said as well, you think about retiring, but you keep coming back, and you obviously love it and you inspire people.
Yeah.
So what is down the road for you in terms of like what you're looking forward to chasing next? Because it seems to me that you keep pushing and sort of up in the levels, which is awesome, to be fair.
Well, obviously my goal was to get them the 3 trophies, the 3 titles for the Britons. So that's why I'm doing that in end of August. It's the last weekend of August, that is. But I think I've got to the point where, because of my aches and pains in my shoulders from lifting heavy all the time, whether I get it or not, I think that will be my last strongman competition I'll do. I want to keep involved with the sport, because I ref competitions as well. We run like the Midlands Opens and stuff like that, and I help out reffing things like that. So I want to stay involved with the strongman, but just not keep lifting heavy. So what it is, my final goal for me personally, keeping physical wise, is I want to finish where I started. So I want to do a stage competition. I'm not going to win. I'm 52 years old, and I'll be competing against 20, 30-year-old like young people, because in disabled bodybuilding, there's no categories. You're just in that class and that's it. Like even with masters and stuff, they don't do a masters or anything. So it's, but like I say, because I'm I've got a good frame. I've spoke to quite a lot of bodybuilders, and they says, Daz, you got the physique, change your diet, and just a little bit how you train, then you could do it quite easily. So I kind of, where I first started when I was 18 years old and losing my leg doing bodybuilding and not being able to get on the stage, now I can get on the stage. That's where I'd like to finish, you know. So that would be my next goal once I retire from the strongman scene, is like keep training, but just change the way how I do it. The hard bit would be the food. That's why I like strongman, because you can just eat what you want. You know what I mean? You know, pizzas and whatever else. Whereas obviously the strongman, it's more, you've got to be a bit more strict with your diet. So yeah, that is my final goal. You know, I do charity work as well. You know, I do all that kind of stuff. All sorts of things that I can do something and like help people. Then I'll try and do it. You know, I did a bike ride, 160-mile bike ride for cancer with one leg from where I live to Oxford. It should have been 130, but ended up being 160 because we took a wrong turn. I've done the C2C, west from East Coast to West Coast, on a hand bike for charity, for cancer, bowel cancer. You know, I do it, anything. You know what I mean? If it's involving sport and challenging, then I'm always doing it. So even though if I retire from the strongman, no doubt something will come up along the line and I'll be ending up doing it.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, like I said before, you're very diverse and you try all these different challenges. And so just going back to that, so you cycled, how much did you say, 160 miles? Did you
On the mountain bike, yeah, 165 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. And I smashed both elbows. I had to have reconstruction on 2 elbows because I used the shoe clips. And the chain come off the derailleur going up a hill. And obviously it's just come to a standstill dead quick. And I couldn't get my foot off the pedals quick enough. I just went to the side, and obviously my elbows took it. And I did that twice on the bike ride, and I dislocated kind of dislodged the ulnar nerve in both elbows. So my fingers were going numb. But I still finished the bike ride off because it was like for children for cancer. I think I raised something like £3,500 for that, doing that. But yeah.
That is incredible. I mean, I love that, man. Giving back in any type of way, shape, or form is it's a beautiful thing, really, and it's an amazing thing to be doing. But wow, I mean, because obviously when I read up on you, and I mean, I've done all research and things. There's a few things that have come up in this, like that, and it's like, whoa. I mean, I didn't know about it. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it with strongman and the future. You know, you've got those goals to smash, but as you say, other things will definitely crop up. When it comes to it's a couple of other questions I want to ask you. Chasing your dreams, as cheesy as that sounds, is the way I can think of to put it.
Yeah.
You've done it many times over with things. What advice would you give to somebody listening to this who wants to achieve a big goal in some type of sport or in life in general? I know it's a big question, but I'd just like to get a few thoughts for them that you've learned along your journey as an athlete.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. For me, it's like kind of like if you want to do something, if you have a dream, like say we use the term the dreams. If you dream about wanting to do something, then turn that kind of dream, for me, it was into a bit of like into a reality. So get involved. You know, if it, like for me, it was the strongman. You know, and the Paralympics, anything to do with sport. Surround yourself with people who do that to start with, and then go from there. You know, even if it's on social media, chat to people who do it. I mean, I do it with quite a few people now. There's a guy where I train, he's got one arm. I says, "Oh, would you be interested in doing this?" He goes, "Yeah, but this and but that." I says, "Right, I'll get you into." I says, "Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook?" And then most people are nowadays, aren't they? So he says, "Yeah." I says, "Right, I'll introduce you to people who I know that do it, and hopefully they can advise you, obviously more than what I can, on what you need to pursue that goal." You know what I mean? And it was the same with me. You know, I got asked if I was interested in doing disabled strongman. I was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind giving it a go. So then I got onto social media, talking to people that do it, went to the gym where they was training, and then I went from there. And obviously then you'll know if you like it or not once you've tried it, and if you can do it or not. and then just carry on with that dream, push it. I don't never participate in something to make numbers up. That's my problem. I've always, when I'm into sport, I do it because I want to be the best I can. If I go on a rowing machine on ergo, if I do 1,000 meters in 3 minutes 20 seconds, the next time I go on it, I've got to do it in 3 minutes 19 seconds, and then so on and so on and so on. I can't just go on it and just go and not be competitive on it. I can't just do that. That's just my mentality on that. You know, I always strive to get the best out of me on what I do. And so yeah, for me it's like that. Get involved with people, then like turn that dream into reality. So you're doing it, and then set yourself a goal and then pursue that goal.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's some rock solid advice, and I mean the thing is, a lot of your story and the determination and the things you've been doing, it speaks for itself in a lot of ways with the inspiration. But I just like to put that in there just to sort of underline some of the things we've already talked about, if that makes sense. Also, one of the things, I think pretty much the last thing really is people that you would like to thank, because obviously people have helped you along the way. And even though we've been focused very much on your achievements, like what you said there, introducing people to people and all that,
Yeah,
that's happened for you as well. So,
yeah,
one you'd like to give a shout out to or a mention to who's made some of
yeah,
this possible for you?
yeah. I mean, for me, my strongman career, then I'd say it's Dave Mayer, who was a former Midlands strongest man and runner up, and he's been my coach for my strongman career, training me for the competitions and this, that, and the other. Dean Maiden, who helped me through my log press Guinness World Record, and obviously, big thanks to them. I mean, we worked together with Dave and Dean. You know, Dean gave me the program. Then I did some training at Dean's, some training at Dave's, because Dave knows the buttons to push me and because he's used to me, he knows what I'm like. Because I'm like, they calls me an old steam train because of my age. I just have to do sets after sets after sets to get myself all warmed up. You know, and where some people, they can just go straight in, lift heavy straight away. I can't. I have to go, and he knows that my proper, to get me going properly. So yeah, it's obviously a big thank you to them for that, for getting me in prep. But I think the most important person is my wife and my family behind me, because if it wasn't for my wife, I probably wouldn't have done any of it at all, because, she's not there. If she can't make a competition on a certain date, I wouldn't do it, because I want her by my side all the time when I'm competing. Because I know, like, she's like, well, your sake, like, she is my rock, and she knows to do things, so I'm not stressing, because I have like a bit of anxiety issues on some stuff, like not knowing where I'm going and this, that, and the other, making sure everything's right, and and I get quite stressed out about it. So she kind of takes care of things like that. So then I'm not having to think about that. You know what I mean? Obviously, I've got the backing of my family. I've got 3 kids and grandkids. So yeah, and they all support what I do, and that goes a long way. You know what I mean? In helping what I do. So yeah, and so she's the main kind of person behind who I am today, I would say. Really, yeah, I've done the hard work, but you don't, that what I do is nothing to what they have to put up with, food wise, diet wise, sleep, mardiness, moods. You know what I mean? It's all there with injuries. Because I get injuries quite easy, I'm just constantly like, well, why am I doing it? This, that, and the other, and they reassure me the reason why I'm doing it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to give them a mention and a shout out, because obviously, even though in life they're helping you, these people and your wife and everybody, and from the people following your career, sometimes they're sort of behind the scenes in a way, if you get what I mean. So it's good to get that out there for people to hear about it. But mate, we've talked about some good stuff today, so I'm very happy with this to wrap this up and everything like that. I just want to thank you for coming on the show, and I want to thank you for being an open book as well. Something people sometimes, you know what I mean, because you've spoken about from the heart. So it's
well, like I say, as we spoke before, no one really knows all about me, because obviously I don't put myself. I'm a humble person. What I've done, you come into my house, all you'll see is one picture of the Guinness World Record, no trophies, no nothing. Because yeah, I won it, but I don't, I don't bloat it in people's faces what I've achieved. I'll go in the gym and it's not an I am, you know what I mean? I'll give advice. If I see someone doing something like kind of not wrong, but I can perfect their technique in something, then I'll walk, I'll say something to them. I'll say, look, you want to try it like this, or just simple things to try and change how they're doing it, because I think it'd be perfect what they're doing better. Then I'll give advice, but I don't walk around like an I am kind of person. Since the Guinness World Record, I think I've only had 3 people from the gym congratulating me, because I don't go around saying, oh, I've got a Guinness World Record now, or I'm a world champion, this, that, and the other. I'm just humbling what I do, because I do it for me. But if someone sees what I do, and like I say, like we said earlier, it inspires, then I'm all good for that. It makes me, it's a bonus to what I do if I can do that. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I get that, man, 100%. You're totally down to earth, and I've got that vibe today as well. And it's the way to be. It's absolutely the way to be. And
yeah,
I'm glad though that this will get the behind the scenes of the story, and like the full story of what you come from and what you've overcome and all that type of thing. And sort of put the pieces together for people about the other sports you've been into as well, and just
yeah.
but mainly, like we've already said, people take some inspiration away from it. That's the main thing. And listening to you, I certainly think it's amazing inspiration. So other people will as well, I'm sure about it. So
I've had to go through a few sports before I found one I can win.
Well, but then that's a good lesson in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, we was actually gutted on the Rio Olympics, in all fairness, because I beat the world record in training. But then my boat in the Olympics got chucked out, so I couldn't compete, which was really annoying, because they wanted to cut the categories by half. Got all political and stuff, because where they did the 200-meter sprint in Rio, it was like a harbour of the sea, wasn't it, or something, and then they had bad weather and it got prolonged by a couple of days, and they didn't want that situation to happen again. So they says, right, we're going to have to, instead of having 12 races, we're going to have 6 races. So they just randomly chose 6 boats, and mine wasn't one of them, so I couldn't compete. And I broke the world record sprint, which was a 53 seconds, and I did a 51 in winter. So come the summer on warm water, it would have been even quicker. So I was a bit gutted about that, so I didn't get to go. And that's when I said, look, I'm going to retire from it now. I'm getting old, so I retired. But yeah, so, and then that's when I say, all this come along.
Yeah. Well, one door closes, another opens.
That's it. Yeah. They actually said that when I did the canoeing, like when I retired, and they says, well, their loss, our gain.
That's it. And again, turned a negative into a positive, because you've achieved everything else, in spite of that. So absolutely amazing, mate. Yeah, this definitely will sort of set the record straight about various things in your life, if you like, or it will sort of fill in the blanks for people. It's a better way of doing it. So I think that's absolutely wicked. Thank you again for your time. Absolutely, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and everything.
No worries, mate.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.